And we're back. No, no worries, Bonnie. I'm going to chime you in a little bit. Let me secure the network, and then we'll rock and roll from there. Cool? See you in a little bit down the line. Hi, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back online. Give me 1 second. Let me just secure this number so we can get started. Official test start time 2 minutes. 5 revisions, 5 pages, 5 paragraphs each, 5 words each sentence, 5 sentences per paragraph, 5 computer spaces in between. You can use your hyperscientific, you can use any artificial intelligence, you can use any technology, but please show the work and share it with the class, or I will assume all you did was use technology, you will get 0 credit for it. So where do we start? We got an offer from Coinbase yesterday, late yesterday. I have to process that. I'm already processing so many potentials outside of this Warner Brothers situation that I have to make a list and I have to organize what the approach is going to be. So we need to break down every single opportunity to see how we can approach it and to see who we can appoint as lead on those particular projects. Give me 1 quick second. So Coinbase was in the news yesterday because they're introducing a few different products, but it appears to be that they are industry leaders in the digital space as far as cryptography, cryptocurrencies, etc. Now, once again, isolating the situation with Warner Brothers, we could reach out to them because they are a distribution marketplace that, by comparison, may be more trustworthy than the offer that we have from the Trump organization. Let me go very quickly to this spectrum of it. Again, atención, eh, Mauricio Ruiz, atención, Reed, Yamis, Josh, um, because this is where the bottleneck is in the system, right? I'm keeping up with this, and everybody's waiting on my lead. There's nobody assisting me unless I guide them to say, "Yo, I need you to handle this." So we're about to jump very deep into the rabbit hole. We're gonna have breakfast. I'm gonna grab myself a cup of water because I need it. Today, 4 creams, 5 sugars. Changed it today. Productivity, we are number 241 today. And one of the offers, we kind of did a little breakdown. But remember, what we hunt is what we eat. If we don't close the deal, the business is not producing income. If it's not producing income, it's a hobby. We don't want it to be a hobby. We got too many taxes to pay, right? You go grab a little bit of water. I'll be wireless, so you guys will be able to give me one second. Right? What we could do is express these things, right? So, long story short, let's start and let's work our way backwards, right? Because Coinbase is Nas. So, Nas, as far as like music, right? And this is where the rabbit hole gets deep, right? First of all, let me hydrate a little bit. I've been in a hyperbolic chamber. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, before I give you guys the download, let's get a quick prayer in. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the blessings in our lives. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the blessings in our lives. We worry not about what we don't have because we're in the process of getting it. And in that journey, everything we do is in your name. Amen. Um, where do we start? Where do we start? Do we eat first? Go to YouTube and go to the China show. I started the day with the Asia trade, but my baby mama hasn't been on there, so I'm not really interested in everything else that's been going on. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, I understand.
Taxes is feeling unwelcome. 9 a.m. in Shanghai, Shenzhen, and here in Hong Kong, you're watching The China Show. I'm Yvonne Mann with David Ingles. Good morning. Happy Friday. We are counting down to the open markets in Greater China. Our top stories today, TSMC shares in focus, up and running 2.5% in the opening minute here, coming alive after they report blowout earnings, leading to a jump in its U.S. listing with the highest trading volume in 9 months. Yeah, but we spoke to the CFO who told us the company plans to raise spending to meet the growing demand for AI chips. In the next 3 years, the total capex is going to be significantly higher than the number in the past 3 years. So that is an evidence of our strong conviction in the AI megatrend. We're getting mixed trading elsewhere in Asia amid some losses, as you can see over in Japan. Treasuries under pressure following an unexpected drop in U.S. jobless claims. And China's central bank says it sees more space for more easing this year after announcing a rate cut amid shrinking demand for new loans. Good morning. Welcome to the program. First things first, a look at the AI bellwether. Just after the opening bell, TSMC 3% to the upside, lifting the Taiwanese benchmark 2% up. 4% was the move overnight in the U.S. listing, as we were pointing out, of course, the highest volume in about 9 months or so. Some of the other suppliers of TSMC also coming out of the gates very, very strong. We'll talk more about this and what this means for the broader AI trade in a moment here. As we were pointing out, apart from Japan, the rest of the region doing okay. Singapore is also coming online. Asia Pacific benchmark, bottom of your screens, as long AI trade, as we were just pointing out, refreshed by the outlook coming out of TSMC. There's also, of course, separately, but certainly related to that, is the trade deal coming through between the U.S. and China. More on that in a moment. U.S. futures, you have silver coming through. A look at the dollar and, of course, the U.S. 10-year yield on your screen. Just going into the open today, A50 futures coming online. The 2s and 10s in focus. The curve also in focus too. Steeper is still what's expected after the pronouncements coming through out of the press briefing yesterday. He cut one of the interest rates. Does that open the door to more, or is that the easing you'll get for now coming through out of the PBOC? Lots of conversations to get into the next 2 hours or so. Yeah, seems to be right now quite targeted. We'll see what this means for some of the more key sort of policy rates and move forward here. But certainly that was quite significant in that press briefing that happened yesterday. But really, it brings us back to Taiwan, given the news flow, right? You have TSMC, that massive cash commitment when it comes to the guidance and CapEx is certainly what moved the market, I believe. Even Taiwan dollar on the back of those results. So it maybe does confirm maybe this AI cycle is actually still quite strong, accelerating, not really slowing down. Yeah, it really did move the needle, I think, when it came out post the close yesterday in Taiwan, and then you had immediately the move over in Europe, some of the proxies in the U.S. and going into the session today. I think I also want to point out at 17:30. So following the release of the numbers, obviously the sell side came in quite strong. We had revisions in the order of about 7% to the upside on the consensus price target, which now sits north of 2,100 on a 12-month consensus. That effectively reflects still a 15% upside from current levels. But again, the risk to CapEx, what does it mean if they don't spend that? And always how this actually goes into the geopolitics of things and how much they, as a company, will actually be spending in the U.S. I think what the CEO says, CC Wei, about this gap between supply and demand is what he is most concerned about, and how they're going to actually bridge that gap. But yes, if they can deliver on these pledges in this U.S. Taiwan trade deal, that's certainly one part of it. But also when it comes to the guidance, as you mentioned, right, when you're talking north of $50 billion, that's certainly what did surprise the market. It really blew out the consensus out there as well. So how does it all fit in? The TSMC story with this U.S. and Taiwan trade deal, that both have agreed to this trade pact that would lower tariffs on goods in the island to 15%. Putting it in line with what we see in Japan and Korea as well. In return, Taiwanese semiconductor companies will increase financing for their American operations by $500 billion, and that does include at least $250 billion in direct investments to expand chips, energy, and AI facilities. Now, TSMC says it will try to speed up the transfer of its advanced chip-making expertise to the U.S. while continuing to develop and maintain its top fabrication techniques at home. The CFO, Wendell Huang, telling us that even with faster transfers, it would still take at least a year for mass foreign production of its leading technology.
As a healthcare CEO, your mind is always on disruption. Now, thanks to PwC's Industry Edge, you're imagining something bigger, a system built around patients, powered by innovation.
We don't look at it this way. It really depends on customer demand. In the U.S., a lot of customer wants to go there, so we will expand over there. But for the leading edge technologies, it will be in Taiwan because it's a heavy cooperation between the R&D people and operation people for practical reasons.
And leading edge will continue to be led by Taiwan, you think, over the US market, and that no changes to that at all, even with you adding a lot more capacity in the States?
Yeah, that's for practical reasons.
Is it possible, though, to speed up how quickly that advanced tech can be shifted from Taiwan to the States?
Yeah, we can try to do that to shorten the gap.
What does that transfer gap look like then? If right now it's several years, Taiwan is ahead, what does that actually look like in the future?
We don't have a specific timeline now, but we can try to accelerate that. We think we can try to accelerate.
Could it be shortened to months, do you think?
It will be difficult, challenging.
Okay, so it stays at least 1 year behind then.
Yeah, there we go. The CFO of TSMC, Wendell Huang, there with Bell, of course, there in Taipei. Now, the other big story, of course, apart from that, is almost at about the same time, just shortly after TSMC released results, was this briefing coming through separately in Beijing out of the PBOC, in which they outlined a few things. One was they lowered interest rates on its structural monetary policy tools effective in about 2 or 3 days, January 19th, 25 basis points early next week. The other more broader message there is that they did see more room for easing, whether that's triple R or the policy rate, signaling it does have room to further reduce borrowing costs while stepping up targeted support for the economy.
The PBOC will cut the interest rates on all structural monetary policy tools 0.25 percentage points. The 1-year lending rate will be reduced from 1.5% to 1.25%, with rates for other maturities adjusted accordingly. Central Bank will integrate the use of its relending and rediscount quotas to support agriculture and small businesses, with an additional 500 billion yuan allocated to the relending facility.
And, we also got the lending numbers for December, aggregate numbers. This is specifically the graphic on your screen, which is new loans. The total for 2025, as you can see, is a step down from previous years, despite the uptick that we had in December and also the uptick still in aggregate financing overall. It's a reflection, this specific one, of sluggish growth from borrowers that's really weighing on the outlook.
Yeah, joining us now is Ding Shuang, Chief Economist for Greater China and North Asia at Standard Chartered Bank. Ding Shuang, it's always great to have you. Happy New Year. So we're kicking off the new year with some cuts from the PBOC. What do you make of the timing of this? And is this just the beginning, do you think, in terms of stimulus?
Well, as the Deputy Governor said, there is room to cut policy rate, but the room is not that large, in my view, and it will be used very sparingly and focusing on its signaling effect. Take the lending rate cut, for example, 25 basis point, it's large, but the market reaction quite short-lived. If we look at the Hang Seng Index, 10-year Chinese government bond, the reaction is very short-lived. That is understandable because while these tools are very beneficial for selected industries, technology, green development, SME, agriculture, its macro impact is very limited. Look at the total scale of the relending, perhaps just 5 to 6 trillion compared with 270 trillion of credit outstanding. So the market will naturally focus on the real policy rate, that is 7-day reverse repo rate. And for that, I think the room for cut is still constrained by the net interest margin, which is at 1.4%, record low. And at the planning meeting of the PBOC early this month, the PBOC said they will try to keep the financing cost at low levels instead of continue to lead it lower. So that's an indication that any policy rate cut will be used as indicated in the Central Economic Conference efficiently and flexibly. So we think, all things considered, there is a room to cut the policy rate in the second quarter by 10 basis points. That's our forecast. And the monetary policy support may mostly take the form of liquidity injection to prevent the government bond yield from rising. So we forecast, for example, a 25 basis point reserve recuperation in the first quarter and supported by regular purchase of PBOC in the open market of the central government bonds.
What does it mean for the currency and the policy around the currency, which I think they pushed back? They said the strength in the currency recently was because of the weakness in the dollar and not a fundamental shift in their attitudes towards the renminbi.
I would say the PBOC appears more receptive to a gradual appreciation of the currency. And I think it's mainly because it is supported by fundamental and China's focus on technology, on industrial upgrading. That is making Chinese product more competitive. And some appreciation of the currency can help to ease the trade tensions, not only with the US, but also with Europe, with other trading partners. So looking at the trade data, China's export grew by 5.5% last year, despite the high tariff. China's trade surplus, $1.2 trillion, record high. China's current account surplus, our estimate is 3.3% of GDP. That would be the highest in the last 15 years. And this trend is likely to continue going forward. So we think 2 to 3% of appreciation of the currency is not going to undermine China's exports. And also, if we look more broadly, we think China's strong renminbi policy is taking shape as China is trying to develop a financially strong nation. President Xi Jinping said that a strong currency is the first key core element of financial strong nation. So we are going to see more government policies aligned to promote the global status of the renminbi.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the cuts we're seeing in the structural lending tools are.
It's must-know info from Credit Karma about getting approved for a credit card or a loan. Most people don't realize your credit score is only part of the equation. Credit Karma's approvalized technology goes way.
You know, it's amazing.
Put this stuff in his face. This copyright stuff.
That it can still go. So let's break down a few of these examples, right? We can save this or send it to the family, business funds, Congress, everybody. Again, I want your perspective, right? We have to be able to process things, right? It's all data, it's input output, right? So we have the United States President, Donald Trump. What are my affiliations to the government? Air Force, Space Force, AFIS, Homeland Security, Department of War, Department of Defense, right? Really Department of Defense, but it's been changed to the Department of War. So think about all the potentialities there, right? So that's my military life. That's everything dealing with that type of technology, those type of investments. So now, on the technology side, he launches a series of NFTs, which is our technology, collectible tokens through different avenues. There's a program with Solana for Melania's Trump offerings for her digital currencies. And Trump obviously has his own. So those are two separate projects. They're a married couple, but this investment is like, she has her thing with Solana, he has his thing with, I think it's Ethereum based. Again, all of our technology is what we work. So now you have corporations in place, right? You got the holdings company, and you got the production company, blah, blah, blah. Everything comes down to World Liberty Financial. So that's one separate entity from the president, from the government, from his marriage. This is a separate company. It's his own thing. Inside of that agreement, Trump and their family, they have built a trust as a holdings company. Really, that's what it is. Within this arm. So you have the Trump family, you have their trust, they're in charge of the digital assets, they're filing for their banking license, they're under World Liberty Financial, and that's where the opportunity is. One vertical is to try to do business directly with World Liberty Financial. That's one avenue. Another avenue is once the Trump family's banking license is approved to go through them. They're business partners, so that's already a conflict of interest. But it's like sending an envelope, right? It's only going to go on one slot. So the business opportunity should be presented to one opportunity at a time. This has nothing to do with military technology, which, all the new contracts are coming up, so we're already fighting for that. So that's kind of right. The question is, how do I integrate myself and my collectibles, for my auction, for my project, everything that we're negotiating? Is it worth it to pursue World Liberty Financial or the Trump banking holdings company estate? Because it's not just the fancy title, it's what it actually is in the market. So this is one example. Now, we already can identify there's bottlenecks in what we have going on as well, because we're fighting this battle on a business level, but we're all battleships. We're all trying to win the war. So now let's talk about crypto.com. So one of the original investors is Nasir Jones, the artist known as Nas. One of my mentors, one of my inspirations. This guy's phenomenal, right? One of my competitors as far as an artist, just being an artist. But he was able to be one of the initial investors on Coinbase. So when Coinbase goes public, his net worth explodes, right? And I am right at that cusp, right? So now they are, by definition, the biggest marketplace as far as ETFs go for cryptocurrency. They are the leaders, right? So now we have to proceed with caution. On the music side, that's a natural competitor, but he is associated close enough to the Carter family. So it's not by coincidence, okay? They are our business partners indirectly through Tidal and through United Masters and Steve Stout. From a technology standpoint, if they are the number one marketplace, then we can trust them because the public trusts them. So the perspective of maybe a proposal could be beneficial. But how do we process that? Are we careful on the music side? Are we careful with intellectual property on the technology side? Or do we just see it as a financial move? Because the auction is going to require a place for the new collection to be. So this is a little bit different from our partnerships with OpenSea and Riot, because they are the place that handles that aspect of the technology. But the investment, the marketing, promotion, publicity, distribution, that's a whole different one. So these are two examples, right? Should we contact Mr. Nazir directly? Do we circumvent and go to his family office, meaning his estate corporation and investments corporation? Do we go directly to crypto.com and try to build a bridge? How does that affect any future decisions? So these are examples from the last few days, right? So for the last few weeks, now you have Patrick Bet-David Consulting, which is one of our business partners, owner of the New York Yankees, Patrick Bet-David, published book author, owner of Valuetainment, Patrick Bet-David podcast. The list goes on and on. First of all, this is one of my teachers and one of my mentors, one of my leaders. I wrote about him in my books, finally in the position to do business with him. This company has started, Connect. I'm the most expensive person you could talk to on Connect, and the prices are already scheduled to go up. So through that technology, we're able to be at the forefront of what we're doing. 7% ownership now belongs to Anthony Robbins, another one of my mentors, another one of my business leaders, another one of my business partners. Through Connect. Connect is an extension from Valuetainment and from the Patrick Bet-David podcast and everything else that they have going on. They have a lot of different technology, but Connect is exactly what I needed at the time. Just like FT technology was what I needed when I started breaking the world's Guinness records. So Valuetainment develops a consulting arm after an explosion that I had with 4 or 5 of the representatives, right? It was bad because I went to the public about it. So this has been rebranded, especially now that Anthony Robbins is a strategic business partner. Valuetainment Consulting is following in similar footsteps to VaynerMedia and VaynerMedia Consulting, which are also business partners. Gary Vaynerchuk, the New York Jets, Whatnot is the application, VFriends, the entire IPO of what VFriends are. Again, we're all friends, we're all business partners, right? So now, after that situation, Valuetainment Consulting becomes Patrick Bet-David Consulting. That changes everything, and that happens after I go to Fort Lauderdale because I have to have a few meetings. So I have to go to Ferrari Fort Lauderdale, I have to go to Valuetainment itself and make an assessment. There was a few investments I had to check on over there. So this changes the dynamic, and I'm going to tell you specifically why. In the promotion and marketing, which of course I'm going to do because I am Team Connect, I'm still Team Valuetainment no matter what. I'm still VaynerMedia, I'm still BlackRock Blackstone, I'm still Ferrari, I'm still Chevrolet, nothing changed, nothing but a chicken wing, right? Now, they mention equity stake in proposals because they realized they lost about $100 million. Well, out of that $100 million, I'm probably 99 million because all these things happen around the same time, about a year and a half ago. And this is when all the changes have been implemented. This is when I had a stronger emphasis on Mauricio Ruiz. So now I have to be careful because I don't want to burn a bridge. I still want to do business. These are my mentors. These are my colleagues. These are people that I look up to, change my life. Always, forever will be indebted to them. But this changes things because now, if I bring a proposal, they understand the value in taking an equity percentage. So it's a subtle deal on the table without being a deal on the table. Because we're already business partners in so many other avenues, but this one is the most critical. And these are just three examples in the last few weeks. Warner Brothers, we've already went profoundly into detail about most of the things that are happening. At this point, I have to build the barrier around the situation and wait for my lawyer to do what she does best. So shout out to you, Ms. Crystal Delgado, my top music attorney. Shout out to Delgado Law Group. We're based out of Austin, Texas. Check us out on YouTube. So, how do we proceed? I still have to be on tour while these negotiations are happening. But also, while these negotiations are happening, I have to make moves. I got to make proposals, business plans, pitch decks, and I have to reach out to all these people. The people around me have to do the same because we're all fighting to be successful. And this year is going to be a super duper powerful year. Everything is gearing up for it to be. This is going to be a record breaking 2026. So, how should a small business owner, small minority entrepreneur manage all of these things? What should be the approach? I have challenges on the personal front, on the emotional front, with the people that I love. Right now, I have to put everybody in an ice chamber and say, everybody relax. I'm going to handle this battle. Just like David uh, defeats Goliath in the number one movie over the holidays, it's a similar situation. But again, these opportunities continue to crop up, and I don't see the reaction that is equally yoked or equally matched from some of the members in our team. So we may have to reduce the size of the team. There is a bottleneck in communication because I just don't have the time. I give all the time in the world that I can. And yet every day I'm picking up the pieces and like delegating my power to this team or to this person. And they don't understand because they have other things going on. So where do we draw the line in the sand? How many more weeks can we sustain going through this? I'm already seeing the lifespan of what is available to make a decision. But these are examples. What makes one situation teeter from another? If I went through that David Consulting, this goes beyond Minnect. This goes beyond the business partnership with Anthony Robbins and Patrick O'Day. But now, as an equity stakeholder, that changes everything because now I have access to a line of credit. If I go to Coinbase, I'm going to secure a line of credit. If I went through World Liberty Financial, I'm going to have access to a line of credit. So now it changes the dynamic. How much do we need right now to organize everything? Can we use those funds allocated to incorporate this venture? Or do they reserve the right to keep it under their corporate structure where we have no power? So why would I delegate all of the power of my company to them, knowing that step one is the auction, in between is the tour, after the auction is a mega tour, and then ongoing negotiations for the rest of the calendar. And this is when the juggernaut shows up. This is when BlackRock, Blackstone says, okay, we're ready for you to walk in the door. Then that in itself is a variable. Do we really want to be the bridge between BlackRock and Blackstone? Or do we want to decide to just pursue BlackRock first? And depending on what happens, then go to Blackstone because Blackstone already purchased hypnosis. So our entire perspective is BlackRock, we need this arm of this type of investment. And we can be that arm long term, like indefinitely, right? They have a much deeper portfolio as well. So how do we balance all of this? when the phone calls are coming in from the friends and the family members and the peers and the colleagues and the clients and the customers. And every day we're making very small, teeny tiny adjustments. This is without going hard body into some of the details, and hopefully those details determine whatever decision we make. This is the challenge that we face for today, because it is a very crucial and pivotal moment, and this decision is not an easy one to make. And I do feel agitated and strained and irritated because I have to encapsulate everything once again and maybe not answer as many phone calls, maybe not schedule as many meetings. Um, I can feel my schedule for next week, the entire week. I don't know if I'm ready to do that at this point in my life. I don't know if I even want that stress. And I don't know if I want to go through the back and forth. Like, I want to be selective. Every opportunity, just like the ones we mentioned today, for each one of them to have proper assessment and then for a decision to be made. And I'm also interested in other people's input because this is becoming a bigger challenge. And I think today was about basically breaking that down. This is all the time that we have for today. We want to thank you for tuning in. We are going to go to the yacht club. We're going to go check on our churches and charities. Then we'll be back to help the family for a little bit, and we'll be back live from the office. So may you have an amazing day today. May you conquer everything in your path. May everything that you touch turn into solid gold bars and beautiful and precious gemstones such as moissanite and laboratory-grown diamonds. Always remember to dream big because dreams come true. Happen to me, and I feel fact it's going to happen to you. We'll see you in a little bit. You guys have the best teacher of the world. Dreams come true. God bless.